Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Working Man Ron Doyle. I'm in a new construction home in Somerset County, Maryland, and I'm a master electrician wiring up residential homes. This video is about changing out light boxes in ceilings for 6-inch ceiling cans. The customer I had mounted a sliding track fan rated box in this ceiling over the dining room area, and the customer came back on trim out and said that they would like to change that out to 3 ceiling cans to kind of line up with the kitchen area, because the dining room is on this side and the kitchen's on this side, and they wanted everything to flow and to be optically appealing and all symmetrical. So I'm going to give you a little quick look at this print, and I know this print's hard to make out because it's being ripped and tattered, but basically the kitchen area is right here. You got a pantry. You have a dining room area that's right here. This is the front foyer area, and I'm going to show you that. But right in this area here, above me, I have a dining room table light, and they want to take that out and line it up with the cans going across from the kitchen. So right now, as it stands, we have 3, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 cans surrounding this kitchen island, and they want to put 3 across from it. So we are taking out a fan rated box. It is a Rayco sliding fan box. I apologize, it's a little cold in here. It's about 40 degrees in this house. There is no heat on yet. We're taking that Rayco box out, and we are putting in Halo E7RICAT, which is an insulated airtight ceiling can. And this is old work. It has the swing out ears on the sides. If you tighten these three screws on the inside, it brings this blade down and pinches between the flange of the light and the blade, like you see right there. And what we're going to use to install that is a 6 3/8 inch carbide tip Remington. This is a Remington brand hole saw I'm going to use in my meat deli tray to kind of cut down on the dust, but we're going to put it in like so. We're going to chuck it into our 20-volt DeWalt drill, and that's going to help us keep the dust down in this house. We're doing this change out on this new construction home. Basically, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, why don't you just do wafer lights? Well, right now, wafer lights are cost-wise, they're close to the same price as what a new construction ceiling can will cost you. You don't get the trim rings with it because it has a built-in LED. I'm opposed to using wafer lights at this point in time on a new construction home where you're installing recessed lights / ceiling cans, because once you put the wafer lights in, customers, they say that the LED light bulbs will last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. That's or classified a lifetime. Okay, lifetime. You have 8 cans in a kitchen ceiling, and 5 years down the road, and one burns out. You go back to the store to buy that exact replacement, and you can't find it. So you get the closest thing, you change it, and then you find out your wife doesn't like it because it doesn't match the lumens or maybe the Kelvin spectrum on the chart. And you got one light that is blue, and all the others are like a 32K, and the blue is a 5K. So I prefer new construction ceiling cans in new construction environment. You can do all of the rough work on rough and face. You don't have to worry about drilling holes over kitchen counters and countertops and cabinets and nicking stuff and getting stuff all dirty with drilling. I just prefer new construction ceiling cans. Well, you get a 6-inch trim ring, and usually the Halo brand, they come in a contractor's pack. They give you the small trim ring, and they give you a larger trim ring. So if you got drywallers that aren't too good, use the large trim ring. If you got drywallers that do an excellent job, use a small trim ring to do your trim out. Well, in buying the old construction ceiling can, these new construction rings will fit inside this old construction ceiling can, and they will match up. So I've got new construction in the kitchen area, and I'll have old work retrofit ceiling cans in the dining room area. But by the time they're all said and done, you're going to see all this, and all this is going to line up, and you're not going to know that these 3 cans in this dining room are any different than what is in the kitchen. You're going to have the same light bulbs, going to have the same trim ring. Everything's going to line up. So in my book, this is a win-win, and I'm going to take you along for this journey. I'm going to show you how to take the box out. I'm going to do some line up and some measurement. We're going to use the Klein Tools laser level. It is a 93LCL, and then they have on this instructions there's 93LCLS. This does a pin dot straight up if you're laying out on the floor. It does a vertical and a horizontal line. It's pretty nice. It's about 120, 130 bucks. This thing has saved me numerous times on accidents and pencil lines on ceilings. You can reduce pencil lines if you have one or more of these lasers at your disposal to use. So let me get you set up on another ladder, and I'm going to show you how to take this fan-rated Rayco box out of the ceiling. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pancake box. I am mistaken. So, we're going to straighten our wire out to get this pancake out of the ceiling. We're going to put our needle nose in between this Rayco wire clamp. Squeeze it to flex that ear back so that we can take this out. We're going to get our impact with a 5/16 hex driver and take the screws out. There is insulation in the ceiling because the upstairs room above this is an unfinished area. And I'm going to get something to poke up in there to see which direction this wire comes from. I believe it's coming from that way, but you never know, I might be wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, the wire comes from the opposite direction. So I would really, where we got a ceiling joist that's dead center of this particular location, I would really like to put in the flat LED wafer lights. But in doing so, I'm going to have a problem matching up the color intensity and the style of trim that it would be from these three that would be wafer lights to the 8 cans that are going to be in the kitchen. They're not going to match unless I keep with the same products. So I'm going to do some measurements off camera, see which way I should go. If I should go on this side of the joist or on this side of the joist. This area was dead center of the front door in the foyer area. That's why this is mounted on the ceiling joist. So let me get off camera and see what I can do. Be right back. Give you a little perspective of what I'm doing. And I'm measuring off the trim from one side, keeping the measurements all the same. I see you can't grab a reference point off of this side because the molding doesn't go all the way down. We come into a cathedral ceiling area. So what I'm going to do is hook a measurement on that can and pull it to this can. kind of hard to see. All right, let's see if I can give you a perspective of what's going on here. So, got the laser set up right there. You can see the laser going across the floor. And what I did was found my center measurement of that doorway that you see right there. That's the front foyer. I put a reference mark on the top of the trim and at the ceiling area to where center's at. Now, looking up, the light that I've got shadowing on the ceiling is actually impeding the laser. Let me turn the light out a second, see if you can see it better. All right, so that's a better perspective. The camera doesn't seem to be doing justice, but basically we've got a straight line going across the ceiling from reference points that we have from the outside of this cathedral ceiling over to here, and then from cathedral from here over to there. Now I've got this ladder camera stand on an angle, so it's going to appear to be an obscured angle, but it is lined up. It has the same measurements from both points to the front here and then toward the back. It's the same thing. So now that we've got a line that's established across the ceiling, now I can pull my measurements from the trim to the very first can to the second can, and with the third can will be somewhere over in here. So let me get that set up, start putting some measurements up there, and see where this goes. Our very first measurement from the trim that you see to the very first light is 33 3/4. The second light from the trim to right there is 86 3/4. And then I'm going to hook the middle can to get the can's measurements for the last one, because I can't do a standoff from this trim all the way over to where my center measurement's going to be for that can. The tape's going to break in half and fall, and I'm going to get frustrated. So the other thing I'm going to do after I get that last reference point for the very last can that is on this side is I'm going to set the laser up. After all the lines are lined up, I'm going to set the laser up and make sure that that last can is dead center and in line with all the others. That way we don't have any mistakes on this job. So let me get these measurements out. Always measure twice, cut once. In this case, we're drilling. You don't want to be wrong on this. The drywallers are not going to like you. All right, I got the laser set up on the floor right below this ladder, and you can't really see it because I got the Milwaukee tripod light on. Let me turn it off, and you'll get a better perspective of how all these cans line up. Okay, so my original line that I put on the ceiling, you can't see it, but I've got a faint pencil line right there. Where are we at? Right there on the ceiling, there's a faint pencil line, but if you look, you can see the other 3 cans in place See, one there, and one over there. It's kind of hard to look at the camera and point at the same time, but my initial pencil line is right. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the drill and go ahead and get these holes drilled out and take you through the process. So 6 3/8 carbide tipped hole saw. We're going to set it in low speed, drill the holes through the sheetrock ceiling. I believe it is 1/2 inch, might be 5/8. Let's find out. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you all are drilling quite a few holes in your house and you want to keep the dust down, you can do a meat deli tray. Tap the dust down to the corner. Take out the plug, which is a 1/2 inch drywall, and put the debris in the trash box. Saves a lot on the cleanup. Now, if you were doing this in a finished house and you were putting in cans, what I would recommend, have somebody else hold a vacuum cleaner right at this hole as you're drilling. They can suck up any residual dust that's airborne inside this meat and deli tray. It works out pretty good. All right, this is our old hole where our pancake box is. We need to locate this wire on this side of the joist. So I'm gonna pull the insulation back a little bit. I'm going to pull it through my staple. Now, hanging this wire down, I'm going to go to the other box, the other hole that I cut in the ceiling. I'm going to grab wires independently until I find the one that actually moves. I want to pull this wire back to the first can location. So we'll have two wires, two 14-2s in the first hole. We'll have two 14-2s in the second hole, and we'll only have one 14-2 in the third hole. And then we'll do the connection of the old work ceiling units. Uh-oh, no wire. There we go. Get you looking at the other wire coming through. You should see it. Oh, it's already came through. Get you back over here. All right. So now we're going to get set up on the other end, and we're going to start pulling wire hole to hole. We got our cable spooler set up on the floor. This is a Racketeer's. It uses a standard 3/4 inch pipe, and this is what I'm going to use to aid in helping me to get these wires from hole to hole. we're pulling off of a 1,000-foot spool, and we're going to pull a wire in between each hole that you see. Now, if you're doing this, don't cut yourself short. That is a mistake. You have to get this sealing can up into the ceiling into position, and this wire will move side to side, front to back. So I'm going to leave 2 foot out on each hole, so I've got plenty of wire chase back and forth. You could get by with 2 foot and 1 foot out of the other hole and install one can at a time and then slide your wire down. If anything were to ever happen, Lord forbid, the ceiling needs to be replaced. You have a little bit more wire to play with. If you take the ceiling down, you'll be able to staple the wires up in place. If you make it too tight, you're not going to be able to do that. Get you back in frame. Now what you can do to help if gravity is pulling against you and you think the wire's going to fall out, take the wire, put a little coil in the end, and prop it up on the sheetrock. The real nice and convenient thing about these old work sealing cans is they have a spring-loaded clip. Pull this down in the back. This little access door comes up. They give you instructions. Electricians don't need that. But on this, they've got a neutral, a hot, and they've got a ground. And the nice thing is they've got a swing-out clip, as you can see right there. Swings down, swings out, so that you can strip your wires back, put your wires in there. You've only got 2 ports on this. Most of your sealing cans are new construction or 3 port, so you can only enter this particular enclosure with 2 wires. So you want to make sure that you're not putting 3 wires in one location. The crimp connectors actually show that there's 3 ports that can be hooked up. And looking at this, you've got knockouts. You've got 1/2-inch knockouts on the bottom and the sides. So you could add another wire if you chose to. Let's see if there's any listing and labeling. So, English. Maximum of 6 number 12s or 8 number 14s AWG conductors suitable for 90 degrees Celsius permitted in box. And they're calling this a J box. Volume is 10 cubic inches. So nice and convenient. I'm going to go ahead and get one of these wired up to where I can put it in place and show you how it tightens up to the ceiling with these tighten down ears. So let me get this started. Now on this particular J box, they've got a approximate, let's see if you can see this, got approximately 2 inches of space where you can actually run your conductors in. And then you're going to have, of course, 5/8 of an inch underneath these connectors. I wanted to show you that. So now that I've got the wiring stripped back with about 2 5/8 of an inch, I'm going to go ahead and take the can and hold it up so that your strip back is inside the box by a minimum of 1/4 inch. And I've got it, looks like about 1/2 inch too long. So I'm going to trim those back by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to go ahead and pre-strip about 5/8 of an inch off of each one of these conductors. You want to make sure that all your conductors are landing inside the box. Now, tightening this up to the ceiling, you can do this with, let's see if you can see it, a number 2 Phillips or a 1/4 inch nut driver. Either one of those would work, but you're going to have to use an extended shank because the shoulder of this box has got a little depth on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get these stabbed in. One other thing I wanted to tell you, wiring this house, this is the white wire that you see. This one right here is south wire. And I switched brands and I went to Cero wire. Having an issue with south wire being real rigid. The outer jacket is hard, and if you strip it, and if you're not careful, you will cut your hand on the plastic jacket. It's that hard, and it's very brittle. Stripping this wire out in houses, I've actually cracked this jacket trying to pull these 2 wires apart like that. It actually cracks. It doesn't split or stretch. That's going to be an up-and-coming video, the problems I've had with south wire. 14.2 NM is the only wire I've experienced the problem with, but that will be in an upcoming video for you, if you all are so inclined to watch it. So I'm going to pivot this down. I'm going to stab a wire into each hole. And I believe they put that on a pivot because you really don't have a whole lot of room in this box. Now I'm going to give a tug on each one of these wires as I'm going to make sure that they're not going to come out on me. So we're stabbing the wires in, giving a tug, and then we're going to put them in the wire holding clamps that are in this J box. All right. Now that we've got the wires situated in there, see if you can see that. This lid will shut with no problem. I'm going to take the wire and coil it up toward this side away from the ceiling joist. The joist is right here on this side. They're on this side. And what I want to happen, because the joist is running right here, I want to make sure that the swing ears don't get pinched up against the wood in the ceiling. So we're going to push the J box in first. We're going to locate where our ears are at. Now on this J box, I only see 2 swing ears. I'm going to push this up in the ceiling. Like so. Get our Phillips. Started out kind of slow and snug it up. Don't over tighten this, because what'll happen is you'll cut through that sheetrock with those swing ears. So be careful. Now that we've got the first one installed, I want to make sure that I physically push some of this wire back. I don't want to cut all that wire out. Alright, so you can see from this hole to the following hole, that's our wire that we're dealing with. I'm going to line these up. Now if you really wanted to, you could put a band of tape a little bit back here to hold these together. Blade clamps are substantial enough to hold. Like I said, I'm stripping back about 2.5 inches of wire. If I do it a little longer, I'll cut it as as need be, cut off what the extra would be. You just want to make sure the outer jacket of this NM wire falls inside the J-box. The other thing I've noticed about Southwire, other than the jacket being hard, is the paper seems to be twisted around the wire in a fashion it's harder to get off than it was prior. So you've seen one hook up on this wire, and let me get the rest of these two done, and then I'll go and install the trim rings. One of the things I want to point out, I was telling you about leaving 2 foot. So depending on the direction you push this can, if you push it that direction, going toward the other wire, you're going to pull distance on that wire going that way. If you pull it this way and you bump into another joist and the can won't go in that position, you may find yourself short on wire, and it's got to go either that way or that way. That's why I recommend leaving a little extra wire to work with. The only thing I can say that they can improve on doing these cans, I made an error and I told you it had 3 swing out ears. These cans only have 2 swing out ears. These cans would be much better if they had 3 or even 4 swing out ears. They don't have that. The plastic round boxes do, and the old style of old work 6-inch non-insulated contact had 3 swing out ears. I've installed those about 15 years ago. They decided to go with only 2 on this airtight can. I don't know why. Halo increased the swing out ears to 3. I think it's going to be needed. Another thing I want to add to checking and installing these, you're seeing their connections where they have the thermal button is right in here. The wires go into the can from the thermal button and penetrate the back under the swing connection port. You want to make sure that their factory connections are pushed down and none of the bare insulation is exposed to where it could arc out on this ground wire inside this can. After you get them all stabbed in, give a little tug and make sure all of them are in and not coming out. And this is the last can. So it's a fairly straightforward installation. And I hope whoever's watching this wants to do some additional ceiling cans in their house in the same bay as their light fixture, that they can do 1, 2, 3, or 4, or as many as you want in the same bay that the wire's in, to make your installation time a success. Hopefully you don't have any pipes, vent stacks, sprinkler lines, wire stacks where home runs are coming through the ceiling in your way. You may experience more obstructions in your ceiling bay where you're going to have more drywall repair and moving the placement around of the old work ceiling cans. So in doing your trim ring install, you want to take your trim rings, and like I said, you have 2 different sizes. So you have a small and you have a big. You can see the outer diameter is a lot thicker on this one right here. So I'm going to lay that up there, and that covers nice and tight to the actual ceiling and covers that lip on that ceiling can. I'm going to try the old one, the larger one. So either one will work. In this particular old work ceiling can, I'm going to use the larger rings because we've got some damage, paper tear out on a can over there in the kitchen, and we want all these to match. So I'm going to install the larger trim ring, put the baffle in it, take your pliers, reach them through, and grab the inner spring like that, separate. Now I've got to adjust my interior trim up so that it accepts the bulb. If not, the bulb will hang down. So you can see right there, it's almost flush with the surface. So I'm going to loosen the wing nut on the inside. Spin that wing nut loose. And I'm going to take and slide the interior parts of the can up on top of the stud that sticks out on the inside. Let me bring you in a little closer so you can see this. So what I've done, I'm blocking your light. What I've done is move that up inside. So you can see now the interior trim is sitting on that bolt. Let me get you set up in this stand. Alright, now take your pliers, like I originally wanted to do, insert it like that, and there's keyhole slots that are up inside. You can see it right there. There's keyhole slots. You want to slide that spring up in the keyhole slot, push it over, and let it go. And I'm going to do the same thing to both sides. We're going to take our bulb, we're going to insert our bulb in place. Now, looking at it, if the bulb is centered inside the sealant can this way and this way, take the bulb, push up onto the interior trim. You're giving a little bit of a bend to the interior trim to center the bulb. It's not going to hurt it. I've done it thousands of times. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a completed trim ring on an old work can. Now I'm going to do one on a new work can and show you what the differences are, and there are none. All right, what you just seen was an old work can. This is a Halo 6-inch IC, which is insulation contact, airtight, AT. So IC AT, insulation contact, airtight. So new construction, old work. This is pre-installed on my rough and face, and then the sheetrockers did sheetrock around it. So now I'm going to go ahead and put a trim ring on it and show you what the differences are. And for the most part, the trim ring goes in the same way. So you want to loosen the nut. Sometimes I use a long needle nose to aid in doing that. These are the Knipex brand. Really nice pliers. Loosen the nut, put the slide down on the stud that's coming out of the side of the can, snug it back up, pull your protector cap out that you heard fall a few seconds ago, take your trim ring of choice, which is our large, same way, go through the bottom, hook onto your spring, look for the keyhole slots, slide the spring bottom up in the keyhole slot, and let it go. Do the same thing for the other side. Center the interior baffle in the center of the trim ring. Make sure it snaps in place. Take your light bulb, screw your light bulb in. If you need to do some alignment, look and see if it's centered. And it looks like I got my dirty fingerprints. Yep. Word to the wise, clean your hands before you do this. We don't have any running water here, so I might take a magic eraser and run around the perimeter, get my fingerprints off. Obviously, moving the camera around, putting trim rings in and bulbs, I'm getting a little dust and dirt on the trim rings. And the customer will notice that, so clean up after yourself. So let me get you a perspective of this. Get you off this mount here. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, that one, let's see if I can get my hand to go the right way. All right, that one right there is an old work sealing can. It is a retrofit for something that's not presently there. The one, you can see this is the kitchen area. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a new construction. They perfectly match. There are no differences between this one and the other one. So when I get all of these done, let's see if I can give you, we don't have any power on in the house right at the present, so I'm using my spotlight for you. So you can basically see how many ceiling cans are in this kitchen. Walking around, this is the pantry. And that is an old work can that we just put in. But, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to bring you this presentation of installing old work cans in a new construction environment. You're doing this for yourself in an older home. You have to be very cautious about where pipes are, where wires are, possibly laving underneath the drywall or multiple layers of drywall. Sometimes multiple layers can impede you from installing old work ceiling cans such as this. You may have to take the ceiling down, do new sheetrock, possibly new ceiling cans, or even do the pancake retrofits. If y'all are interested in seeing a video on pancake retrofits in the future, I'm sure there's going to be occasion that'll pop up that I'm going to have to do them. I'll show you all how to install those. But for the meantime, this video is getting long like everyone else. I hope this video was helpful and informative to you all. If you like it, please give me a big thumbs up, share, subscribe. Subscribing is free. It doesn't cost you anything. Be nice to see you back on the next video. Until then, stay safe. God bless. Y'all have a wonderful day.